Welcome to Albion TV presents the AO Daily Show, your source of real news in an unreal world. Keeping you up to date on the latest news, events, and the great community of Albion Online. Today is Wednesday, the 9th of October, and I am your host, Shozen. And with me today is my co-host, Bogul. Bogul, how are you doing today?
You just confused the hell out of me. Dude. What? Are we skipping the AO Daily Show and just starting some sort of meditation exercise?
Today is Wednesday. We're going to meditate on the nature of loss and fun and how we've lost fun.
No, let's talk about Albion. How about that?
Oh, that's gaining fun. That's a lot of fun, and I always enjoy that. I'm going to give these guys about 10 more seconds, and I'm going to pull a raffle for the early birds who got here early and hung out with each other, just having a good old time. But Bogle, we've got a fun day for you guys today. It's Wednesday. Wednesday is our wacky day. Wednesday's a little bit different. Wednesday, we don't really know what we do on Wednesdays. Sometimes we go over patch notes, and sometimes we just do whatever. And today it's a bit of whatever, because we have a brand new map out, and there are a lot of questions that we don't know the answers to. And we thought we'd put them to you, and we could all just hang out together and talk about these questions that we have. But first, we'll go over the PSAs, the news, and all the like. Shall we, Bogle?
Let's shall, is that a word?
Let's shall.
But we actually do have a patch chosen. There is a pretty important one that happened today. And but let's do the PSAs first. We had this dev talk that came out last week. That was the announcement of the new Outlands, some details, and a very interesting and may I say artsy fellow there, Dominic Müller, explaining the new map to us, some of the features, some of the new things.
Are you calling him artsy because he wears a vest?
And the rings and the not suit, but that suit piece.
That's a vest.
And
that's
the way
a,
he talks, and
vest.
he's a designer.
Okay.
I think all of that combined is.
All right. Because the way you said it, he's an artsy individual. It's like, okay, he's a vest wearing individual is what you're trying to say. We try to avoid saying that anybody wears keys now, Bogle, ever since the Daddy Varian incident. Rings. Did I say keys? I did say keys. Sorry, I'm reading while speaking
that
at the same
article in chat, though. So if you haven't seen that, you can watch it. We played it yesterday and the day before and talked about it at length. And we will have the second part of our show today be centered around this, specifically us talking about some of the things that came up that need an answer still. With the hope that we may generate some more questions that we can then bring up in a potential future interview with Robin at some later point in time.
Yeah, we have no idea when that's going to be. Things have gotten so crazy around the office that we aren't getting our normal responses. I can't even get Elsa to talk to me right now. And I know that might seem normal to a lot of you who can't get Elsa to talk to you, but Elsa actually talks to me. So he must be super busy today, and I'm guessing that the office in general is just in a tizzy. So what? Let's get to this this patch you said we got.
I have one more thing.
Oh my God! How many? One more thing.
Potentially relevant for people who are following the season schedule. I read it yesterday, but there's this interesting, important comment by Altharian, the game director of Albion Online, saying some things about the season 8 that is supposed to follow the season 7. And he says, we are currently in the middle of finalizing our plans for the next season. The next season content update Queen will arrive either around the beginning of December or mid-January, depending on how production proceeds. Given the complexity of this update and the difficult scheduling around the holiday season, we cannot commit to a specific date at this time, but we're working on locking the final date down. We'll announce detailed plans as soon as we are confident in the final date, but for now, here's what we can announce. Season 7 will be followed by a transition season, which will last either a few weeks in case we launch this year, or roughly 2 months in case we launch in January. The rules and rewards for this season will depend on which timeline we end up with, so we can't really go into more detail at this time. Stay tuned for more info.
I am staying tuned. Bogul, I didn't notice that this had the map with numbers on it. Somebody went and did a mighty job and actually put numbers to all of these zones and gave us an idea of how many we actually have.
Lord Silva, it's in that map, that's the new Outlands that you're showing.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's the concept work in progress map that he took a screenshot of the video of the dev talk. That shows 298 zones, but we have to give the little caveat. It says on the bottom right, it's work in progress.
Very much.
And we were specifically told by Elsa that this is still work in progress and not final, and that's why we can't show the map yet.
Yeah, that's why we can't get you guys like special map pictures, and we tried. Okay, so I look over in chat, and the first thing I see over there is this looks like quite boring map. Well, this is the most boring picture of the map we could possibly find for you on purpose. Like, so let's be clear here. This is supposed to look boring. This is the time zone map where they're showing the time zones without any art or anything at all. Yeah, it just squares with numbers and colors. And I'm sure that whoever just said that is probably colorblind because they're like, that's just a boring map. That's just a bunch of numbers on squares. What does it even tell anybody? I've already brought it to their attention, guys. I understand some of you cannot see what's actually going on in the map, and we got this handled. The next map will be in colors you guys can see, like blue, and it'll have no purple because I know some of you guys out there know purple. I know, weird.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about some of the details on that map, I guess, a little bit later. I wanted to know. Or wanted to talk very briefly about this transition season thing. Is there anything else we know about this, or is that announcement what we know?
We know a little bit more, but I don't think it's anything that we can really say. I mean, given here, we can tell them that it's either going to be like a month long or 2 months long, and that depending on how long it is, the prizes will be different depending on how long this one lasts. If it's longer, they'll try to give you something special because they know you don't want a long season. They want to get this done with as soon as possible and move on to the next kind of season, really. And there's special rewards involved in some of this.
I just wanted to say that depending on the rewards of this and depending on how much time you have to figure out something cool that's fun for like a few weeks, it could actually be a very interesting and fun thing to do.
Look what somebody did.
Wow.
Yeah, can. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Okay. What that is? Interesting. Cool.
That's for you guys out there who can't see what the colors actually look like.
Nice. Okay, so we don't know anything specific, but there are a bunch of suggestions as what could be done. So I just, again, wanted to mention that there's some thoughts going on as to what could be happening. But I think that is it for official PSA's reminders. We just had a few, and we kind of just want to talk about the new map, actually, really, right?
Is that what we want to do? We just want to talk about the new map, huh?
Well, we have to talk about patch 7 that was released today, Percival patch 7 on Wednesday, patch day.
Yeah. Ooh. We can do that. Let's go do that right now, Bogul. Let's talk about this patch real quick so we can get it over and done with and talk about what people really want to know about, the things they don't know about the new map. Because that's what people really want to talk about. They want to talk about what they don't know.
Doing some speculation here on this screen?
Yeah, they like speculation.
Oh, okay.
But first, we have Percival patch 7. I'm going to be so happy when we don't have to say Percival anymore. Like Percival patch, I'm sorry. I just don't want to. All right.
Yeah. if you listen to our show, I think last Friday, you'll probably have heard us talking about all of this already, since it is pretty much the same as it was on the test server. We did a whole show on this. If you want to watch us talk about this for 20-something minutes, watch Friday's show. But I wanted to pick up two things that came out of this that I observed today. Specifically about the transmutation, because it might still be the case that there are one or two deals out there. So if you're watching us live, you might get some tips here. The transmutation changes went live today, where you can transmute raw resources upwards, meaning tier 6 into tier 7, tier 7 into tier 8. So if you add silver to a raw resources, you can make higher tiers. Or if you add silver to a raw resources, you can enchant it upwards. So 4.0 to 4.1, 4.1 to 4.2, for example. And if you closely study these numbers and look at the market and look at some of the buy orders, these might still have a few ones that haven't been snatched away yet. Pro tip. But that will probably be done after the show already. So, yeah, but we talked about the increases to repair costs, the increases to market order fees, the increases to market taxes, the bank taps, all these things. I don't really want to spend time on it more because we already did it, Shozen.
Yeah, there's a lot here, and this is stuff that we did go over in detail. I suggest that everybody goes, if you're into the market and you are into making money and you're into saving money, go check out our show. And it has some detail. All right, thank you. All right. Now on to the map, Bogul. I think it's time.
Time for what?
To talk about the new map and what we don't know.
Oh, okay. Can you set this up a little bit more so people know?
So the other day, for the on Monday, there was the dev talk was released on the new map. Robin came out, and him and Dominic Mueller came out and discussed the new map for the Outlands and how it would work, as much detail as they could without giving us any details. And what? Did I say something?
No, yeah, sort of.
All right. So we went over on Monday after the dev talk, and then we went again on Tuesday. We talked about it more, didn't we? We talked about it from a newbie perspective yesterday, but now we're going to talk about it from the perspective of the people who know too much and go, you know what, guys, there's a lot of questions that are left unanswered and that we would like to get answered, and we do plan to talk to Robin in the near future. We did originally have an interview scheduled for Monday, but it didn't happen because things just got so freaking crazy. Now we're trying to get one scheduled for this Friday, and if we can get that done, then the interview will be aired on Friday. Like I'll get my stuff done, edit that sucker, and pop it right out the door. Like it'll be like fresh donuts, you know.
I like donuts.
Who doesn't like donuts? I am Berliner, man.
That's not a donut.
Sure it is.
No, sir. No.
No? Okay, it's just some sort of pastry. All right. Okay, let's get back on topic. So the first thing that we don't know, Bogul, and this was really important to both of us, is how big are the new zones? Because currently we have an idea of how many zones there are going to be put into that, because we've seen somebody did a great job of showing us some pictures and numbering them all and giving us, I believe it was a 298 for a final number here. Keep saying 294. It's 298 for a final number for this new Outlands, which is quite a bit. But we don't know how big these new map tiles are. We have seen that the new map tiles will be different. They won't be the copy-pasted stuff that we have currently in the Outlands. They will be redesigned so that they are... How do we say this, Bogul? How would you like to say it? More tactical?
Yeah, and giving the various objectives and the things in the zone a bit more of a intentionally designed purpose, I think. So if there's a castle in a zone, then the whole zone should be more geared towards the purpose of having a castle there, or if there's like a dungeon or a choke point that's reflected in the other parts of the zone more, I think.
Yes. One of the things is somebody was like asking here is, are there map names yet? No. Can we name the zones?
Like what?
No.
The Valley of the Shozen one.
I am actually. I'm working.
Spire.
I'm trying to get permission to name a bunch of how do we say, like monuments in the game, specific locations in the game, and
the Cave of the Fun Stealer.
Yeah, like Fun Stealer's Morass is what we would call it. Is and
I think we should keep that name for old time's sake and just call
flesh,
a random zone.
One zone should stay Flesh Eater Morass. I agree, but no, like
maybe it's Gankhead.
They are working on it, and I am trying to get involved in it. I'm probably going to spend part of this weekend writing up some lore and sending it to the devs to say, this is my idea on how to make this map. And that's purely me trying to get my, I'm doing, as Link would say, I'm doing my very best game dev impression. I'm role playing as hard as I can on this one and trying to get them to see my mad naming skills. I used to do a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, and the first thing I would always do is start by naming, like making a map. Like when you do D&D or Pathfinder or something like that, the first thing you want to do is create a map. Same thing when you create a fantasy story. You create a world first, and then you get smaller and smaller until you have a story.
Can you make some of these zones have reference to some of the famous guilds and players?
That was I can't Bogul. You know how sometimes there are these times that come up where I am not allowed to say anything, and you've asked me a question I cannot give the answer to.
No, but for example, like I personally, I would not like to see a zone that's literally called the Valley of the Money Guild.
No,
right? Because that's sort of taking the naming too far. I'd rather see something that is an obscure reference, but that's still contained within the naming convention, that it doesn't break the immersion too much. I don't know how to phrase that, but
no, I get what you're saying. Like
Money Guild, but some reference to gold or riches, or a Mad King. What?
The Cavern of Leaving.
Yeah. So
and the steps of donation leading to the Cavern of Leaving. Yeah, that kind of thing. That's how you do that. That's how you make a.
So we had zone size. We
the fucking mountain of money.
We have zone names. We are still waiting on the high-res version of the map because it's not quite finalized. One thing that we don't know, because it came up, is how many hideouts guilds can have, and what the cost is to get one, upgrade it, run it for longer, and what will come with that. Specifically, how many building plots, and do farm plots come with hideouts? Are they part of the hideouts? Are they in the open world?
That's something that's a really good question, is what's going to happen with farming in the open world? Because it seems more like, and this is pure speculation on my part, okay? 100% speculation. I am under the impression that hideouts will not have enough farming to sustain themselves. There will be farming as part of them, but not enough to sustain themselves. However, my feeling is that there will be farm plots in the world that you can take and own and use if you own the tower in which they are located, like the zone that the tower is located in. Like there'll be zones with farming around, right? And if you have the tower of that zone, you'll control those farms. But I don't think it'll be like our current farming territories where it's
So, because the problem with the situation is that if your farms are inside the hideouts, then you can just make more hideouts.
Yeah,
and
but
then you just
there's
have
not
3
enough
farming
there's
hideouts.
not enough farming in each hideout to sustain the hideout. Like you would just creating if you create more hideouts, you're creating an even greater debt for you to pay for the idea of farming. Like the farms will like the hideouts will create enough, so that you don't have to, do a full load every day, but you're going to probably have to do a full load every week, bringing it up to your hideout, and then slowly it'll be eaten over time as you're not quite able to sustain your full load of necessary food.
Because food is quite heavy, right?
It's incredibly heavy. It's
one of these transport nightmares that's always been.
Well, I believe early on, food transport was intended to be much greater than it is now. However, the problem is that nobody ended up transporting food. It didn't happen that way. Like transporting became even more like disliked than people thought it would be, and it just stopped. And you saw a situation where people just made all their food in the outlands. They're just like trying as hard as they can to get those outland farms. Farms are becoming more and more important, and just people hate transporting. I remember early transports.
So another thing that I saw or that we saw in the video is that there will be an emphasis on making these zones more unique and more purpose designed. But I think a question remains is how many of these 300 zones can you individually design? And how many of those can be with a little bit of, turning them around magic sort of copy past that?
Well, here's where I go for the Diablo light strategy, where you make your set pieces, you place your set pieces in each zone, and your set pieces take up about 25% of each zone, and then for the rest of that zone, you create filler inside of your design, like. How do I put this? Like the map itself each map itself is designed to have a particular shape. They each have their shapes with their choke points and their nodes of interest in what have you, and like they're very open areas, they're very tight areas. And then what you do is you take your copyable points of interest that you place down in the map. And those you do for each individual map, and you make each one specific. Like each one goes, and it's very,
you think
you spend the
they
time
have
on
enough time to do 300 of these individually? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think they'll do them all at once. I think it's like you do, 10 of them, and then you go do something else, and then you do 10 of them, and you do something else, and you do 10 of them. And unfortunately, what ends up happening, and you see this a lot in video games, is the last stuff that gets done has the most lessons learned. They're done the fastest, and they're generally of the peak performance. And that's why you'll see game companies leave their first level till the end to produce, because that one with the tutorial, you want to have the first level that people walk into.
Yeah, but they're not remaking the tutorial.
No, this is an example of what happens in video games, is that first level you walk into is generally the last one that they make, and they do that so that one stands out to you more than anything else, and it has a huge impact on you, because all the tips that they learned through the process of making the game are right there given to you right up front, and that's the most tightest piece of content that you're going to have. And now I would not be surprised if we have some tiles that just feel tighter than others, and given my experience, it would be the ones that are done least. I mean, look how good the tutorials right now. Look how good the levels around the tutorial are right now. How well they're designed. Those are the styles that we're getting in this new map, and I believe Mr. Mueller is spending as much time as he possibly can making sure this map kicks ass, because once his job is done on the design, it's then just implementing that design. And that's what, if you're a map creator, that's where the fun comes in. That's where you get to tell your story with the map. And so he's been looking forward to this part of it probably forever, and is not going to, skimp on the effort at this point. He's going to make sure that these maps kick ass. So I have faith in the guy. I have faith.
I think you just sold me on the whole map thing. Did you feel like talking about this for like 5 more minutes?
I mean, I could.
Well, a few
There's more
points.
questions that we have that we haven't
Yeah.
talked about that we do not know how they're going to get into. Like, and this will branch right off of that. Here we go. We can talk about the resource spawning, the rarity spawning and distributions. How is that going to work? Right now, we see that we already like. Where can we get a good look at the? I'll have to pull one up where we can actually look at the tile levels. I'm gonna pull up a.
I mean, if you look at the map, you can just basically see the amounts, but it's hard to see in terms of the individual zones if you look at the map, or do you mean
I'm talking about individual zones. Like, are we right now? We are seeing a greater distribution of T8 into the map, right? It just there's more T8 zones.
Okay.
There's more T8 zones out there right now. When you look at this new map, you just straight see more T8 zones. It's all there is to it. Now, I believe we're going to see and I talked about this earlier when we were talking about transmutation. I think we're going to see more T8 in the world in general because they're going to push us towards using T8 in ZVZs, and I believe, and I can't.
Why?
Because there's
more T8. Simple as that?
because they want they don't want it to just fall out of use. Like if it's only used in GVGs and only in the highest end GVGs that occur once a month, then you're really looking at a situation where it's not coming out of the world in as great a rate that it is, and the easiest way to get it to come back out of the world in a higher rate is to make it more available so that more people use it and put the effort into getting it. And if you make more of it available, there's more of it for people to fight over, more people fighting over it, more people are losing gear. It's a cyclical thing. But the question is how much more of it spawns?
Yeah, whether or not what we see here on the map, if you see an 8 on this screenshot, if that actually equals the experience you have from the current map, so the amount of nodes in the zone and how rare they are and the enchantment levels and such. Yeah. Let's mark that as a question to inquire whether or not these zones will have the same density and rarity of spawning of resources.
Well, I think we're going to see a changing in the spawning density for sure. I think they've already talked about one of the additions to the Crystal League towers is that when you win a Crystal League, your tower will go up. And when your tower goes up, the resource rate enchantment of that area will go up. And that makes it very interesting. And that's why I think we're seeing a distribution of the zones throughout the Outlands. Like the T8 zones are available on the edge as well as on the inner circle. So that the spawn rate can be based more on player action than location on the map. And I have been preaching that for a long time behind the scenes. I'm sure Bogul couldn't, he's giggling because he's like, yeah, I've heard this one before.
Yeah, yes.
But yes, we do not know the answer to that. And that's a big question. And it's going to really, I want to see more T8 available so that it gets people from the Royals out into the Outworld again. And see how they, like these new players, get into the edges and see how it works. Oh, speaking of new players in the Outlands and players in the Outlands in general, and speaking of mega alliances and mega alliances owning all the territories, Bogul, we recently realized that there are over 400 territories that people can own in this world.
Yes.
Right. And it wasn't until 2 weeks ago that our peak was reached with 123 zones owned by one guild.
Wow. Now,
we always talk about how 2 mega alliances own the world all the time. We always talk about this. They own everything. They own everything. They own everything. However, when we look at these numbers, when we look at the reality of the situation, we're wrong. Other people other than the top 2 have to own territory, because when the top 2 have never owned 100, number 1 had never owned triple digit tiles until Money Guild did it 3 weeks ago. That's something. That means that we are overestimating how much territory is owned by 2 alliances and guilds. And somebody's going, the other guilds, other alliances. Yeah, our top alliances tend to give all their territories to 1 guild. And it's happened over and over and over and over and over again. And you can literally tell how many territories an alliance has by looking at Money Guild. It's just,
One thing that is in the discussion sphere as well is how much is the factor of owning and defending your zone a factor that deters bigger groups from smashing on the small guy, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say your alliance headquarters is somewhere close to the white and red X you see on the map, so presumably Avalon, and you have like 4 or 5 zones, maybe 8 zones of influence around there. How good of an option is it for you to then have a day of the week where none of your 8 zones are under attack, and you have enough time to, push further out? And how far can you go before your flanks are just too wide open for other entities to come on and go like, all right, you're busy on this side, we'll take it while you're busy there. And how thin can you spread before you can't defend anymore? And I'm just wanted to say that I'm really curious to see where that equilibrium lies of defensible territory based on size.
Well, here's something that I noticed as I've been doing more ZVZs. We definitely are seeing when a big alliance starts moving, right? Even a good one, like just Squad, for example. Squad's been in Big Daddy for a while, but even inside Big Daddy, we still operate as Squad. And the other day, we're moving as Squad. We've got Conflict in one chat. We've got Blue Army in another chat. We got Maiden BR in another. And we got the Frenchies in another. And we're trying to communicate to all of them. And every time we move over a long distance, we get spread out. And every time we moved over these long distances, gankers, small groups of gankers, were able to pluck off huge portions of our line. Because we couldn't, because time is of the essence, you can't stop and really defend those guys. And so we were losing like groups of players, and I was like, this is what I want to see. This is why I want to see this battle confusion with the new patch come in, where these groups, these smaller groups, really can pluck off, the running by massive alliance and actually cause damage to them. And it's going to be interesting to see if the good alliances learn tricks on how to make little bomb gank squads that go out there with the specific goal of just interrupting their opponent from moving over large distances. And this is one of the things that I'm looking forward to see if this happens in the new map. All right, Bogul, speaking of new maps, you know what time it is? It's time for the new show. It's time to go to the overtime show.
Already? Okay. Sure. Then I guess we can talk about some of these outstanding questions either on Friday or sometime next week, because tomorrow we are skipping the AO Daily Show and we're maybe having the GVG Live section though. So not quite sure. As a PSA.
Yeah, I absolutely will not be here tomorrow. I apologize for that, but I do have some IRL stuff to take care of. But in the meantime, let me talk about the winners. Desimois, Demi Snipe, and Gimizirzwa.
Are you alright, or did you choke on something?
GMIERZWA has won the raffle.
Oh.
You message me. Okay. I'll even put my name in chat so you can just right or left click on me and then hit whisper. And I'll hit you up when I get these codes. I currently do not have any codes to give you. I will have them for you tomorrow. All right, and we're going to head out of here. You can check us out Monday through Friday right here, 18 UTC, twitch.tv/Albion Online. Albion can also be listened to or watched later at youtube.com and soundcloud.com or your favorite podcast provider, and just search for Albion TV. We stick around on Tuesdays through Thursdays for Albion Live, which is live GVG and Crystal content for another, I guess an hour and a half or so, as we cover both the Crystals at 19 and the official GVGs at 20 UTC. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to take a short break, like 2 to 5 minutes, and we will be back with the OT, Albion Overtime. All right, thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.